All right. Well, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Unpredictable Pipeline. In this series, we are talking to marketing leaders who have been navigating 2020 in what has been anything but predictable times. And with us today, Steve Schley. He's with CPA Global. And Steve, thanks very much for being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So this is the first time we have done these. This is maybe the 12th of these interviews that we've done, but we've done them in the past just recorded on Zoom, and we're putting them up into sort of a hub where we're gonna have all together. This is the first time we've done it as a LinkedIn Live. I realize it's a little early West Coast time. We'll see if we get any comments or questions, but if anyone is watching this live, feel free to post a comment or post a question. I'll get that for Steve. But maybe just start with just introducing yourself, your role at CPA Global, and then maybe just kick it off with, talk about what mid to late March was like for you guys.
Yeah, definitely. We're happy to do that, Matt. So I look after the North American regional marketing team here at CPA Global. We, by the way, as a background, we are the global leader in intellectual property software and services. So we've got north of 12,000 customers globally that are looking to protect their ideas through patents and trademarks, and we provide the software and services to help them. So in my capacity right now with the company, I lead the North American marketing team. We are heavily focused on demand generation and really team with the sales organization in region to drive growth and drive revenue for the company. Um, so yeah, not surprisingly, we reacted to COVID the same way that everyone else did. I would say the immediate thing that happened is we stopped business as usual, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
The campaigns we had in process, we brought them quickly to a halt, and we spun up really a "How are you" campaign. It was primarily sales led, and it was to touch base with our customers and our prospects to really see how was this, as things developed in the early weeks, how was that impacting your business. And what we heard back was customers really fell into one of three categories. Either they really didn't see any impact. In fact, they may be in an industry that might see an uplift from the situation. On the opposite end of the spectrum, people who were immediately suffering. They saw impact on their own financials. They saw layoffs in the future. And then a group that was in the middle, that maybe things were okay right now, but they were looking out to see how things might change in the future. So we reacted from that with really a campaign around here's how we can help. So
Mm-hmm.
depending on which of those categories you are in, here are the services or the software capabilities that we have that may be able to help you with your situation. And I think that was received well. It really showed some ability to listen to what was happening on in the world, but also happening on with a specific client. An obvious one was live events went away. That's historically been 50% of our budget, Matt. So we quickly went the route of a lot of marketers and amplified what we were doing in terms of digital events. So we had a strong webinar program as it was. So we continued to put effort behind that. We also were able to take some of that money and invest in content, invest in digital advertising, and also look at our tech stack too to see if there were
Mm-hmm.
areas that we should be investing there as well.
No, I appreciate those comments. I mean, a couple things that kind of stood out to me from our conversation before was how you partnered with others in the industry to create content. I think there's a lot of companies that have used this time to sort of build trust, build credibility, invest in the long game, invest in relationships with their employees, with their clients, with their prospects, with their industry. You guys did some unique things, I thought, in terms of partnering with other people in the industry to create content. Can you talk a little bit about what you did there?
Yeah, so we have, for a long time partnered with various associations and organizations in the industry, and COVID gave us an opportunity to continue to invest in that area. We have a strong marketing engine within this
Mhm.
organization, and we're seen in the industry as a significant marketer and a significant organization. Teaming with those external organizations really allows some objectivity to what we're talking about. So one of the best examples I can share of this, Matt, we've been working on this for a year and a half to 2 years now, is a consortium that was brought together under one of the industry associations in our intellectual property industry that we serve to talk about IP operations and what does best practice look like, and how does an IP operation establish where they're at on a maturity model scale and identify areas to improve. So depending on what industry you're in, this probably looks like a COO or a chief operating officer type role. In the law firms and the corporate law departments that we serve, that is effectively what they're doing. They're managing the operations of an IP department. And so, in conjunction with other vendors, with customers of ours, with prospects of ours, with consultants in the industry, representatives from government, representatives from these associations, basically we have a seat at the table of roughly a dozen people that for the last 18 to 24 months have defined what is best practice in this area of managing operations within an intellectual property law department or law firm. And that has allowed us really to contribute quite a bit, but also reap quite a bit in terms of the objectivity that provides, the additional voices that don't have the commercial interest of CPA Global, in terms of making sure that what we are participating in is a message that is coming across as extremely helpful and resonates heavily with this particular audience that we serve, and doesn't come across as a product pitch or a brand effort.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I know that you've also, just like we're doing here, you've spent a lot more time using video and then taking video as sort of a core asset and then sort of unpackaging that and repurposing that, which I think is smart. Can you talk a little bit about how you guys have done that?
Yeah, definitely. So I mentioned we had a strong webinar program, and
Mhm.
that was great, a great position to be in for the first couple months of the COVID reaction. I think what we saw is, again, what a lot of marketers have seen, that there kind of was a level of exhaustion after a couple months. That the free time people immediately had all of a sudden was taken up by new levels of business as usual. And so we saw our attendance rates, which historically were kind of in the 50% rate, of all the people registered, 50% will attend, some portion will attend on demand. We saw that drop to 35%, probably in the May, June timeframe. And so what we ended up doing is looking at new ways to take that valuable content going forward and turning that into a variety of different video assets. So, as a backdrop, we have always viewed webinars as a great place to start in terms of content production. It gets a subject matter expert or experts on the hook. Oftentimes, it includes a customer voice as well. It has a timeline to it, so it's actually going to get done. In as much as it's a video recording or a live video, people prepare for that as well. So, we've always seen that as the core for a variety of different assets that may follow on. And we had always seen a lot of success in the webinar on demand, and the people that weren't showing up for the live webinar in the May,
Mhm.
June timeframe going forward did actually come consume it on demand. But we really challenged that and said, could we take some of that effort and turn it into post-production on the webinars we were doing, and looking at ways to make video more accessible throughout the pipeline. So we do a lot of thought leadership in our webinars, and a 60-minute thought leadership may be great in some instances, but throughout the funnel that becomes less and less effective. So we had a lot of our sales professionals and even customers asking for something that's a little bit more brief, and something that we as marketers could use in social media that we're posting. So what we did is we'd slice and dice those either things that we had in the can, so post-production work on an existing webinar, or really just spin up brand new videos that were kind of an opinion piece, if you will.
Mhm.
And that is something that is relatively new to us over the last 3 to 6 months, but something that has allowed us to take our expertise in producing live digital events and turn that into something that is more consumable, snackable content,
Yeah.
something that is relevant in a social media setting, as an example, and something that really helps the salespeople as well give a different type of asset to a champion within an organization that they're working with, as an example.
Nice. Uh, what's your perspective on live versus on-demand content? I'm curious, what that is in general, if that's changed in the last 6 months during the pandemic. I know, a lot of companies say, like, I really just want to get people to the live webinar. Let's get everyone signed up for Tuesday at 10 o'clock. And it seems like there's fewer and fewer people that will now show up for the live event versus those that registered. Some are doing it because they want to get access to the on-demand version. They want access to the follow-up materials. What have you seen? What's your perspective and balance now on live versus on demand?
Yeah, from our balance, we have invested more of our time and effort in on-demand.
Hmm.
And frankly, webinars that go straight to video, if you will,
Hmm.
as opposed to being a live event. That said, we still do live events. So let me answer it two ways, Matt. We have spent on the live event side ways to increase engagement. It doesn't necessarily drive more attendees per se, but it
Hmm.
increases engagement within the webinar. So
Right.
things like surveys, things like reevaluating the event dashboard that we have. Do we have the opportunity for people to sign up for the next event? Do we have opportunity for people to touch base with the presenter or some other subject matter expert in the business, or engage with a fact sheet or something like that? So we've made that we've made the live event much more focused on engagement from the attendee, and
Hmm.
then the on-demand. It has allowed us to play with the video format.
Hmm.
We have now, since kind of the typical 60-minute webinar that we used to do, we've done events now as long as 3 hours. And then we've done events like the video examples I mentioned, as short as a couple minutes. I would say on the on demand, and particularly the short form video, it's allowed us to do a couple interesting things. Number one, it has allowed us to take pretty dense subjects and challenged us to put it down into something that is a little bit more, uh, get a single point across. And within that single point, it's allowed us to take a webinar that maybe had a focus. Let's say it's risk management, the
Hmm.
60 minutes of discussion around risk management. And we may be able to slice and dice that and put a bit of a little different wrapper around that. You know what? During this one component of the webinar, really talking about how risk management helped win a new client.
Yeah.
A customer's approach to risk management helped win a new client. So we can kind of wrapper that
Yeah.
in a little bit different message. And that has increased the flexibility by going with on-demand or video type assets.
Yeah, love it. Well, last question I've got for you, Steve. I appreciate you doing this today. Speaking of sort of like, breaking things up, is, we're publishing these videos in their entirety up on the sort of Unpredictable Pipeline CMO Content Hub. But then also this last question, we're probably going to sort of unwrap and sort of put into something as well. It's really just around sort of your experience through 2020, and I'm curious, as we continue to to work our way through it, what is something that you miss from sort of the beginning of Q1 that you're looking forward to being able to do or experience again? And conversely, what's maybe something you don't miss that you might have still continued to do, but now that you don't have it or don't have an experience, that you're not looking forward to going back to it?
Yeah, the thing I've missed is live interaction with customers.
Yeah.
I'm a former sales leader, and so being in front of a customer is something I enjoy personally. It's been something that's been an important part of my job historically, and it's something I think that a lot of marketers, frankly, as they get into the depths of whatever they're executing, sometimes don't have the opportunity to engage with customers as much as it would be helpful to. I will definitely look forward to that being a return at some point. Somewhat related to that, and let me use that as a bridge, the thing that I relish right now is the flexibility of the work from home environment, and the ability to not have to spend time traveling into an office. We, as an organization, CPA Global, have made a move to digital first, is the way we
Hmm.
describe our new work model. And we
Hmm.
have actually transformed our 29 offices around the globe, most of them,
Hmm.
into hubs where we can work as a team, and hubs where we can engage with customers, as opposed to traditional offices. So, as an example, the office that I historically had in Minneapolis here is no longer my office. I work from home. I work from my home office here, and I will continue to do that in this new model. The Minneapolis office becomes one of our 29 offices where I can sit down with other team members to work on something, or I can engage with customers and that type of thing. That has been a real benefit that I think I and the team will enjoy going forward, is just the flexibility of not only work from home, but also the flexibility of turning our offices, physical offices, into something that's a little bit more in service of the customer.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for this, Steve Schley, Vice President of Marketing for CPA Global. Thank you for sharing a little bit what it's been like managing through this year's unpredictable pipeline.
Thanks, Matt. Good talking to you.